about 40 farmer organizations have taken to the streets across North India and are marching towards Delhi. The farmers are demanding the implementation of the Swaminathan Commission's recommendations and the enactment of a law to guarantee a minimum support price for crops. Joins the broadcast. Let me make a start with you first, Jaijit Bhattacharya, on what practically can be done to increase farmers' income. Is a MSP law pragmatic, possible? What else can be done if not this?
So, MSP is obviously effective under certain circumstances, but it cannot be a law under all circumstances, under all, for all kinds of crops and so on and so forth. We don't have MSP for, let's say, animal husbandry. We don't have MSP for milk and so on and so forth. And these are one of the more profitable agricultural producers. So, obviously the farmers are also under stress, right? And there is no doubt, I think nobody will deny that farmers, not just in India, but globally are under stress. But having said that, will an MSP really solve it? And there are also many other things that you only mentioned, such as use of better technology, use of more efficient farming techniques, supply chain optimizations, and so on and so forth. However, let's just look at it from an India perspective. There are almost 60% of the population in terms of families is dependent on farming. So if you increase let's say the price of food, because that is what's finally going to help the farmers, then 60% of the farmers themselves will get hit by it. And many of them will be small and marginal farmers, and leave alone those who are vulnerable sections of the society who will not get access to food. Now, fortunately, under the government's program of providing free ration and food to those who don't have it or don't have access to it, which is almost 800 million population in this country, at least the vulnerable sections are kind of protected. But from an economic perspective, would it really sustain if we increase the food prices? Because the end consumers will get hit. And if 60% of the population is farmers, they themselves are going to pay for it. Let's look at it from a workforce perspective. 45% of the workforce in this country is involved in farming. Now, with that large workforce, there is no other large country or economy in the world which has got that many farmers involved in farming, or that much of workforce. You look at Brazil, it's less than 10% of the workforce involved in farming. US is around 2% of the workforce involved in farming. So the only way out from my perspective, really, which will fix the problem, is half the number of workforce involved in agriculture. They'll produce the same amount, they will use technology, they will use mechanization, and the farmer income will go up. We haven't created any new, large cities in the last, 50, 60 years, except for Naya Raipur and, Gift City and so on. But we need far larger cities which will start absorbing new kinds of employment, which will then start, getting people from the rural areas into urban areas and giving them alternate jobs. Unless we reduce the workforce in the farming sector, I think everything else is a break fix. And pretty soon they will start breaking down because it's not sustainable. You cannot have an economy where 60% says that increase the cost of something that they themselves will consume and will also make others consume, and and it lead to significant inflation driven by food, which is the worst thing possible, because an inflation then leads to taxation of the poorest person in the country. Because for that person, it's essentially a taxation, and inflation is something that we are taking away from their pockets, and that's the worst kind of economic harm that we can do. And keeping all the factors in mind and how the various dimensions of the economy plays out. In my personal view, what we should really be looking at is reducing the number of farmers, giving alternate jobs, providing alternate ways of employment, so that people move away from farming. Many of these farmers are actually technically underemployed. They do not have enough employment for 12 months a year. Between crops, they don't have much of a work to do, and therefore, I strongly believe that we need to urgently create many more job opportunities. For example, when the government came out with provisions for Kisan in 2021, about 14 million families, 140 million families were targeted. But the number of families which really registered was only 90 million. The balance could never be found. So we don't even know how many farmers are out there. But let's say there are 90 million farmers. So can we get 45 million out of farming and put them into something else. I think that is what's going to solve the problem in the longer run.
How can technology help in alleviating the situation of farmers and helping them boost their productivity?
I think what Dr. Sharad Kholi had just suggested is actually playing out. So that's a great suggestion, which is in terms of startups getting involved right from the point of actually giving funding to using multiple technologies to monitor the farm growth, and including crop insurance using technologies such as drones to make sure that there is precision pesticide being given so that their cost of payout reduces. So it's a win-win situation for everybody, including the government, because their crop insurance payout also reduces if they're able to target in terms of technology. But I also want to bring in the point that, although we are saying US and India are similar and India has been following the US page and US has been quite helpful.
Yes.
But like the New Deal was significantly different in terms of what it was trying to solve. It was trying to solve the issue of overproduction. And therefore that $1.1 billion subsidy that was more to get the get land out from production of agriculture. So about 30 million hectares was taken out.